Here we are back on the 50. This is about the 4th day that we've worked on it, I think. So we're trying to do this one a lot faster than we usually do them. We don't have to do it that way, but it's just good to get it done. So this morning, first thing, I'm gonna start mounting these running boards. Well, yesterday we did torch the rivets to these brackets to get them off of the original 50 frame, but this has to come up and meet back with this original fender. But what you're going to notice is this bracket here is going to be hitting this leaf spring shackle, so we'll have to cut that one loose. And then let's see if I can get up under here. That front bracket will actually hit the front of that S10 frame, so it'll have to be cut short. Now this middle one I'm not sure about. The front of that frame kicks out. See how it does? It may, the middle bracket may work. I'm not sure. I think I'll go ahead and get that front cut, or this rear bracket cut, get it sitting up here, get in on the corner, and then start lifting it and see about where I need to cut. The S10 frame is actually, the wheel width is narrower, but the frame width is actually wider, if that makes any sense. So there's the driver's side running board mounted. Basically got the original bolts back in. We've got one of the original supports welded to the middle, and then one welded to the front, and I made a drop down hanger. So yeah, solid. Got the passenger side bolted in and just jacked up in the front. We'll do the same thing over here. Okay, back over here on the 50. This is Saturday. We started fiddling with this thing, I think, last Saturday, but really started getting to it on Monday. So really on Wednesday, I don't think I was able to work at all on it. So probably got about 5 days into it, and not all day. I'll have to start counting some hours. Let you guys know how many hours that we've put into it when we're finished. Our idea was to get it mostly done over the Christmas and New Year holiday. So let's see, today we're going to deal with some steering. So we've got a factory S10 rag joint here, basically. And it had the proper spline for this gearbox. This came off of a 4-wheel drive S10 chassis. which is the same spline, as long as you get the right spline. But what we usually do is cut it there, and if you'll see, it has the same shape as this, I done stuck that in there, I shouldn't have yet, but it has the same shape as this aftermarket steering rod that you can get, and I'll give you all some more information later on that, where you can get that. But once you cut this factory rod, inside of it is the same shape as this rod, so it'll slide right in there. That way it'll have a little bit of a telescoping factor to it, see, back and forth, and then it points perfectly through this header system and right into the area where the factory steering came out. So looks like all we'll have to do is we'll go into the cab and see our factory column is going to sit right into this channel, and then we can put our U-joint right there. Got a steering knuckle, U-joint, whatever you want to call it, here with the proper size to fit this shaft. So we'll put our steering knuckle there, and then it'll just point right up to wherever we set however we set our steering column in here. Now, I'm sure that the old steering rod inside of this shaft, we've got it hid over here, is probably not going to be the same size. So we may have to grind it down some to get it to fit in there. And usually after we get that all set, I'll weld that knuckle here and here. I'll weld the shaft to it once it's set in there. We don't trust these set screws. We've had those come loose in the past, and the steering actually separates. So I like to get a weld on that just for safety sake. And then we've got our brake system here, and our brake pedal that we're gonna mount up under there today. And we've got a power booster and a master cylinder, proportioning valve, and brake lines to plumb. So probably most likely do a lot of that stuff today. Really need to get that done before we can mount this nose back on there. Okay, one thing that we always try to do with these trucks, the cabs are so small. And originally, you can see the fuel fill. Originally, the fuel tank was behind the seat, which put the seat back about right here. That was fine for that day and time. I think people were probably smaller then. With the fuel tank gone, we can get the seat further back, and this is just a mock-up seat. This is not the seat that will be used. Okay, originally this steering wheel it came out further from the dash than this, but we're going to push it a little closer to get a little more room. It mounted with this collar. I think though what we may do is, can't remember what I did last time, but we may take half of that collar out and let this steering column sit up into this bump here to give us a little more knee room. As you can see, I mean, my knees are all over this steering wheel. I think this seat This is a jump seat, so it may be a little high. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So that seat may be just a little unrealistic, but really, probably not. It's probably close to where it's going to sit. So anyway, you see what is going on here. We'll probably lose half of that collar, shoot this up into that bump, and that'll get us a couple more inches. And see, what I got to think about too is the higher that I raise that, the more of an angle it puts my whole steering shaft at. Right now I'm coming through, I'm all the way at the top of my hole, and my steering shaft will get a knuckle right here. I think I'm already getting too low to line up with this straight, line straight up with that. So I'll probably have to cut a little bit of this out to get that to fit right. So let me go ahead and get a little mark here so I can get rid of a little bit of that material. Okay, we're going to try to start this engine and just see how well it runs before we close this nose up. But we've got all our wiring hooked up, I hope, temporarily. The coil, got fuel in the fuel tank. We have a remote starter switch. So let's see what happens. get it too hot. It sounds good. Sound like I think the timing's way low. The distributor don't have much more room to move. We'll get that figured out though.
All right, I feel better about it now.
Yeah. This supposed to said it had a little cam in it.
It's supposed to have a little small cam, a little small stall in it.
Okay, so it's gonna float, then it's not gonna be real even. So typically what I'll end up doing with these steering columns is after I cut them and we've got our shaft hanging out here, I don't have a way to center that up, so I'll get some sort of a bushing, in this case a big nut, and I'll center that up in there and weld it. And that'll typically give us a bushing of sorts. Where's my U-joint? So we get a bushing in here and then get this U-joint. I have it marked where it needs to be. I'll have to grind this shaft down to get it to fit. Okay, let me turn this radio off. I've got the steering shaft notched to fit this knuckle, so we're going to drive it on there. And I'm not going to weld it yet. Just going to drive it on there, and I'm still in the fitting up stages. So let's drive it on there and go put it back in the truck, and hopefully everything will line up. I did clock it. See how that is notched straight up and down. This one is, this side is side to side. But I'm trying to get it all set up to where the steering wheel is going to be somewhat straight with the truck. This pretty much, when the wheels are straight, this shaft is straight up and down. That's how I have the knuckle over there clocked, straight up and down. So when I put that in there, it's going to be close. So if anybody's interested in a job, I do need a cameraman. To go around and film my YouTube videos. No, I guess I'm just kidding. I think I could afford that until you guys start sharing my videos and I get a bunch of subscribers and I can afford a cameraman or lady, whatever. It's hard to film yourself. It's hard to stay motivated to set up all the right camera angles and everything. It's really hard to motivated to take the time to narrate and all that, set up all the camera angles and narrate it all. I don't know, but I like doing it. Element of entertainment to it, but there's also an element of getting the job done. Temporarily tighten this. I'm not going to go real tight yet, but just tight enough to hold it from sliding around. All right, maybe that'll hold it. I'm gonna take you guys out here with me. So at this point, I need to find a place to set y'all. Maybe we can use this chair here. Just a place to sit y'all in here with me so you can. So at this point, I have to understand if that rod is going to run about the same angle as my U-joint there, which I did get pretty low. I think I need to cut. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to actually maybe, well, I don't know. I need to give myself a little relief there probably in order to just give myself a little room. Okay, so there she is. All put together. I am going to weld this knuckle to here and this knuckle to here. I haven't really decided if I'm going to weld that or not. I probably will go ahead and weld that. And then if it ever has to come loose, it can come loose here at the spline. Yeah. Turn the steering wheel. Direct connection. And I'll either just weld it. Well, no, you can't do that, or that'll never come out. I'll have to have a little bracket and a U-bolt that'll come down and bolt to that. We have welded them in the past right here, but for maintenance purposes, that's terrible. Those are going to be the wheel tubs. He's using that from another job, old scrap piece. Okay, it's January the 2nd, or is this the 1st? Yesterday was the 1st. This is the 2nd. We've got the proportionate valve mounted. I got all our new lines routed. And right now we're bleeding the master cylinder. what I usually do is cap the ports solid. Just work the brake pedal until all the air leaves. It's getting there, a little less air as I push the pedal. And then eventually that will just get, the pedal will get rock solid. That's when you know there's no air. Okay, so we got our brake lines run in and out of the proportionate valve. Got the brakes all bled, got pressure, and we're getting ready to set this nose, hopefully. With these, you have to cut a good portion of the inner fenders out to clear the control arms, upper control arms, and just brakes and things like that. Got to cut those frame horns off. They're too long. I'm going to have to hire some cameraman when we get real famous. All right, ready? Balance the whole thing if you want to push the jack. No, that's a problem. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, we gotta take some more of that out.
Man, a little bit more than a more. Go up higher with the jack, just to kind of get a better picture. Of how much actually does have to come out. Probably start on that, in that ridge right there. Which is probably going to get into that, ain't it? Maybe not.
Sure.
Let's see. Right now, Bradley's words this morning are ringing in my head. GMC's different than Chevrolet, I'll guarantee you that. All right, say like, look, this volt to there.
Right.
We've got to go almost a foot
Yeah.
to get that. We'll only be halfway there. But the nose up here on the jack and jack stands, and we're trying to fit it up, and we're realizing that these frame horns are going to hit this core support. So we're going to have to do some cutting, take some of that core support out, maybe a little bit at a time, or all at once, who knows. Nose is mounted, bolted down to the cab, and we had to do some pretty excessive trimming to get it to fit over the S10 frame horns, but all in all, it fits pretty good. So I'll fabricate up some mounting brackets from that original core support to mount to the frame horn there where we torched it. And then there'll have to be some bumper brackets to drop below that chin guard. And then we do not have the hood mounted yet, but we will. Things that are left to do. Our list here is mount the shifter, transmission lines, wiring, hood, power steering hose, drive shaft, gauge. Hey guys, I appreciate y'all watching our videos. I think we'll make this a part 2, and then we'll finish up with a part 3. I'll try not to make each video too long. This is a pretty extensive build, so the videos tend to get long, the footage. There's a lot of footage, and we'll do our best to condense that down into something somewhat entertaining and maybe a little instructive, but without being too boring. Please remember to like our videos if you like them, and share and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.